New transit, new season of sensory design in the archive, new shirt, which still no one can get unless you're willing to literally type in a URL. Um, why am I like this? I'm taking a note out of John Bellion's book. If you actually want to rep our merch, then you're gonna have to just type in shop.thearchive.life, then you can get the merch. But if not, unfortunately, I'm not gonna put the link up and make it easy for you guys because I don't just want anyone wearing these shirts, and I'm not trying to make money off of them. I want the people who genuinely are like, "Yo, I need that shirt because I do stuff in the archive," and yeah, so that's where we're going with that. But good morning and good welcome, guys, to another Reikimarco live. It's Friday. We transited out of gate. Which one was it? Gate 21, which is all about control, to gate 51, which is all about being first. It's all about saying the shocking thing. Hello, Sweden. What do I have for everyone today? Steven, the book came. Yes. I was reading it last night. I was like, dude, at some point, me and Steven are going to be reading this book at the same time because I'm reading the first of Atlantean Secrets as well. Which if anyone really wants to get on the level, read Atlantean Secrets. I've been turning everybody onto it because it's one of the probably primary inspirations for me and Pasha to create the archive. Aside from human design and our experience with somatic healing and men's work and emotional healing and just healing in general, life in general. One of the biggest inspirations for our archive and our work together is literally this book, which you can find the link for this book in my bio on my Amazon shop list. But aside from that, guys, we are in a new transit. So let's talk about the new transit. We're still in the heart. We're still in what's considered the most tribal center in human design. The most tribal center, what I'm talking about is in human design, we have three, technically four types of circuitry. We've got the individual circuitry, which is the stuff that makes you you. We've got the tribal circuitry, which is the stuff that separates us from them. And then we've got the collective circuitry, which is just like everyone. It's like the global standards. Then there's the self empowerment circuitry, which is how you empower yourself, sort of part of individual circuitry, but alas, not exactly. So, what we have with this transit is very interesting because there is one channel gate situation in the heart that is not tribal. Pretty all the other connections to the heart are all tribal. So the heart is very much so about us versus them. Their cars are nice, our cars need to be nicer, right? Um, they have this much food, we need to have that much food as well. There's a competitive nature to the heart that is essential to our survival. However, there's one channel in there that connects to the G center. It's called the channel of initiation, and it's comprised of innocence, which is a transit that we were in, I think 2 or 3 transits ago, and biting through, or shock, which is the will to be first. So it's the identity of like unconditional self-love and shock, the tribal energy, or rather not the tribal energy, the individual energy to be first as it relates to the tribe. And so this is a very oftentimes the word that they would use would be like mystical, because as a part of the tribe, one of the most important things in the tribe is to be initiated into deeper layers of not only the tribe but also your own individual journey. Because as much as a lot of us want to separate, oh, this is tribal behavior and that's individual behavior, you can't really separate them without destroying them or killing them. Or making them into something that they're not. This is where Western medicine, they'll do a study, they'll get all these statistics and numbers, and then they'll make decisions based off that study. And because they failed to track like the migration patterns of this one animal, everything gets thrown off. And so one of the lessons that we can learn from that is that the numbers and the statistics, the science, you can't always necessarily believe the science, because that is an inflation of the human ego, believing that, oh, we can track all of the relevant metrics here. And it's not to say that science is worthless, of course. It's just to say it's more of a theory than concrete evidence, like a lot of people look at it. Which, God, people are going to say I'm a science denier. I guess I don't have enough of a following for people to say that. If some of you guys that know that I'm not a science denier could just say that so we can role play, that'll be really fun. Anyway, For some reason, I'm not registered for Friday's classes in the month of April. Does the studio yours? Oh, I did not. I don't even know if I put. I don't even think I put that in the archive yet. Pardon me, bro. Thanks for the reminder. I gotta add more sensory design classes to the archive. Here we go. But anyway, anyone got some questions? I'd love to answer some questions. Oh, dang, that's not gonna work. Friday the 4th. Here we go. Go ahead and wrap your arms around me. I've been listening to that song like crazy, guys. I just cannot get enough of that song. If anyway, such a science denier. I'm not a science denier. I'm a science enforcer. Thanks, Misty Bap. That felt good. Um, because the true science is the ability to rather, in my opinion, the rather than the ability to like observe things from the mind, which I feel like a lot of people they think that's what science is. Chief Kareem, yeah, science denier for sure, bro. Yeah, rather than viewing science from the mind, which is very much so like logical, tracking things. There's a greater instrument than the mind to track the natural world, and it's the body. Before the human mind was able to observe the migration patterns of geese were still migrating. How did they do that? They didn't have science. They knew how to surrender to their form and be in harmony with their environment. And so that's kind of what I'm going through. No questions yet. We're just here vibing with you. Thanks for your energy. Love your singing. Oh, that's. Does anyone know that song? What is it? It's called "Emergence" by Sleep Token. Oh my freaking gosh! Um, that song is I don't even I can't even. It's just so incredible. It's legitimately hypnotic is what's so cool about that song. Um Sorry guys, I forgot to post that we have a class today. Or rather I forgot to make the event. We definitely have it posted. But there is class today at 11 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. If anyone wants to join, you are more than welcome to join. The archive link is in my bio. Just go ahead and wrap your arms around, arms around, arms around. Just go ahead and wrap your arms around. See, I had no clue about the gates, but I had a sudden realization that I was trying to control things. Aha, yes. So now we're in another part of the heart, which is about being first as opposing to controlling things. But these energies have themes. You know what I mean? Like these energies are not just isolated to each of those weeks. And in a lot of ways, these are the themes that are alive within all of us, even if they're not defined. What I mean by that is like if you look at your body graph, you're going to have a combination of defined gates and undefined gates. Some of those defined gates are going to create channels, some of them are just going to be hanging. And regardless of whether or not they create channels, what's happening is that certain parts of you are lit up and active all the time while other parts are not. The transit and other people is are going to be the sources that light up all of your undefined circuitry. And because those people are the sources that light it up, oftentimes we are tempted to have we're tempted to resource that source every single time as opposed to allowing ourselves to experience the newness of that undefined center or undefined gate through another. Oftentimes will impose. This is where a lot of projection comes from, and it's not a bad thing. It's a beautiful thing because once you can learn to like see the projections, then you become free from them. Then you can choose. Oh yeah, this is actually a good projection for right now, or not. All right, Steven, thank you, bro, for letting me know that. I didn't know. I didn't have the class and the calendar up. Whenever the season shifts, it's always so funny. Last time this happened with last time as well. It's like I forgot to post the class, but we are having class today. At least I should text Pasha too. I mean, Pasha will like show up even if no one is there. That's how he is. Once he gets in a groove, he really loves it. Unless he says no. So anyway, Roberta, you mentioned that we have experienced the spirit world. Oh, you mentioned that you have experienced the spirit world. Will you expand on your experience there? The body is temporary. Is the spirit world not temporary? So I can't answer that question. What I will say is that my ability to navigate what a lot of people would consider the spirit world is it's honestly it's very boring at first. There's this sort of layer of just like I don't know. It's not like vertigo, but it's this like it starts as like a spinning, and I've accessed it through meditation, and I've also accessed it through movement. And there's I wouldn't say they're different. I would just say they're sort of when it comes to when I'm moving, it's almost like I'm able to take my body there, kind of. When I'm sitting still, my body really isn't there. I'm just kind of this like this auric energy. But it starts as this sort of like just like moving through these like deep kind of like black spaces, and then eventually it starts to open up and there are like for me it's never been about seeing things, but I feel like my body like pulled and then transported here and then pulled and transported there, and then from those spaces I'll typically have these sort of etheric conversations. Again, it's hard to explain because most of us experience reality with what we see. Sometimes people are having a really heightened sense of smell, and one of the a lot of those senses are very dulled in the spirit world or in non-physical worlds. We'll just call them non-physical worlds. To me, it hasn't been like Avatar where I'm like walking and like talking to like monkeys and trees and stuff like that. There's sort of an energy of that, but it's not like I'm like seeing it like a video game, which I am sometimes envious of people who are experiencing that. Um, but anyway, this is just my experience. So stillness, like deep meditation, typically it takes me about 20-30 minutes to like get there, unless I'm working with some kind of medicine like hape or other types of medicine. The physical movement one is something interesting that's kind of emerged in the past couple years. I've basically and the best tool for me has been either the lightsaber or the flow or the rope dart, and it's because my body starts to move in these spiral patterns, and I'm a very combative person. My name is Marco, which is short for Mars, which is the the planet of conflict and god of war, Aries, Mars. So a lot of the times I'm like literally on the dance floor, like playing with my lightsaber, and then all of a sudden I'll start to feel these energies come at me, and I'll start to do battle with them. And when I'm starting to do battle with them, that's also when I start to like tap into the spirit world or the non-physical worlds. I'll get you there in 7 minutes, man of the law. The homie Smo, take me there. Take me there. Gate 22 is connected to the left ear. Mm. And 57 is connected to the right ear. So one of the coolest things about human design is that there's all these physiological connections. By the way, I just added the event to the calendar, Roberta. I totally brain farted on that one. I moved a lot of energy this week, which for anyone in the chat, I tend to have some days where I'm just like wiped out, and I used to judge myself a lot for it, which I do a lot less now. And the I recently, literally like yesterday, I moved all of the benches that used to be in this bus. I moved them into the trash, a dumpster. And so the energy that shifted for me was like really intense and beautiful. Is it possible that I have issues on the left ear because of not showing emotions or showing too much emotions? Minos? Possibly. That's the thing about these gates, right? It's like where to look, but it doesn't necessarily tell you, look up or look down, or that this is inflated or deflated. That's the part where you have to actually apply your own senses. Um, but yeah, it's either not showing emotions or not being around people that are showing emotions. Because again, the 22 is, and that's my sun gate, so it's very much so about um, the depth of emotion and how much somebody actually feels. And there's something for me about having the gate 22, even though it's hanging, where I can feel when someone is just like shallow. Also, I have gate 48, but I can feel when there's like not much depth in the emotion, and yeah, that's always very how you say off-putting for me. Not that I'm like, oh, you haven't experienced your emotions, what a loser, what a sleeper, but it's like so many people haven't experienced their emotions. There's nothing unique about somebody that suppresses their emotions. Amari, hello. What do you think about the clairs, such as clairvoyance? I mean, I think it's a very real thing. However, I feel like a lot of clairvoyance and clairaudient and clairsentient people, they're over invested into their clairness and not enough invested into their actual senses, which is why a lot of the times those people experience, psychic attacks. They get ripped off. They get whatever. There's bad things, quote unquote, happen to a lot of people, but worse things happen to people that are not embodied physically. Because what something quote unquote bad happening to you, it's like, if there's an unfavorable wind, you can always just like put your sails up, and then when the favorable wind comes back, you put your sails down, and that's where the physical body is the master of that. The mind wants to say, okay, in 30 minutes when this happens, we're going to put the sails up because this favorable wind is coming. But then when 30 minutes rolls around and that favorable wind isn't here, the mind is like, oh, no, 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 this is how it's supposed to be. It's going to be here any minute. It's this is where the Lulu can kind of work against you. And it's not necessarily that the mind is terrible, period. It's just that in certain situations the body does a lot better, right? Like you might see somebody with a magical flowing aura, and like with your clairsentience, like you're hearing all these beautiful things about them, but physically they're destroying themselves. A lot of people, a lot of clairsentient audient people will invest a lot of energy into those types of people and then be sorely disappointed. Oh, Steven, you like that? You like that Luffy? I haven't gotten to that part where Luffy goes into, I think it's fifth gear, but yeah, I just wanted to do it quick, honestly, so I just picked that one. So greatly appreciate you sharing your experiences. I feel like a spirit world can heal the physical, and I feel like humans can make that reciprocal meaning with both worlds to help each other. Right. I don't believe that we are separate from the spirit world. I believe that the non-physical worlds, like we're navigating them already while we're here, and that as we learn to navigate them simultaneously, yeah, that is where a lot of healing comes from. Come to South America with your family. One day, I would love to travel. Once my kids are a little older, or kid on the way are a little older, definitely. Ain't no way somebody is rocking a resplendent aura, destroying their physical body. I mean, I'm talking about like the potential of it, like 'cause sometimes like clairsentient people and clairaudient, they can hear like future versions and tenses and stuff like that. Because yeah, the aura will be whack if the physical body is whack. But this is where I'm like, again, like the people that can't discern between like true clairsentience or true clairvoyance and their mind sort of how you say projecting some kind of trauma or something onto somebody else. That's kind of what I'm talking about. But yeah, you're totally right. The aura and the physical body are so closely interwoven and linked. But again, there's people who stay with someone or teach someone based off of potential and potential alone, and it's not necessarily earnest effort. Like the physical body is the thing that we use to perceive in the now. The mind is the thing that goes back and forth into the future and past. Yeah. And the light within, it's true. And it's not to say don't invest in people with poor potential, but don't over invest in, or don't invest into people with potential, but don't over invest into people's potential. It's kind of the similar way where it's like a parent will over invest into the safety of their child, and their child might feel really safe. However, that child doesn't necessarily get to develop a sense of safety for themselves because their parent always did it for them, and now the child is just having a which which is one big thing that I've been noticing, especially as my daughter's been getting older. She's an emotional manifester. And there's a lot of me that whenever she's going through emotional waves, like I want to soothe her and I want to help her navigate. And so much of me is like, okay, Marco, where is the line between being you know, coddling and being like a good person? Yeah, and being supportive. Yeah. So got you. Non clarity of extra sensory perception, then yes, clouded by the disturbance of the conditioned mind. Exactly. God, I freaking love that you're out here, bro. As one of the my funniest things, and I can speak to you directly, Golden Dragon. It's like there's part of me that gets so excited when I see my friends who are on the level starting to share because and I know there were probably people that were like, oh my god, Marco is starting to share wisdom and do lives and stuff like that because there's like so many people there's so many people that would benefit even from just the most basic stuff that you have to share, bro. So if I'm speaking to one of my good friends, his handle is the homie smo, TheHomie on Instagram. Highly recommend you check him out. Brother is a gold river flowing through barren barren lands and lush lands alike. 100% recommend the follow. The homie Smo. But yeah, it feels good to pioneer, a lot of this stuff for our crew. But also, it's like, yeah, let's get on this, bro. Let's get on this. See, that's me. Thank you. You're welcome, and love you. Oh man, I'm so grateful we have class today. It's like I get why people pay for classes. It's because it's just like and I used to not get it because I didn't really there weren't any like teachers in my life that I was really inspired and stressed out by in a healthy way. And then I met Pasha, and a lot of people say that the work he and I are doing together is really helping them, and I'm grateful to hear that. But the real core of it is that me and him working together, it helps us. Like I've learned to heal so many things in myself that I couldn't heal with just my Reiki practice alone. I needed biomechanics and I needed sensory design. Same with Pasha. He's had biomechanics for many years, healed himself of scoliosis, but there were some energetic things and emotional, mental things that he needed somebody else's help with. And this is where the magic of like if I look at our composites together, there's not necessarily like a oh my god, this is like a legendary composite. Composite, by the way, is taking two body graphs and putting them together and seeing what like the overlapping energies are. And it's not like our composites are oh there's tons of electromagnetic channels, etc. However, the ones that are there are very much so the present ones in our experience, which is beautiful. Because again, it's like you don't need a lot. Like if you put a food out for spirit, you don't need to put a lot of food out. Spirit doesn't necessarily need much from the material world to work its magic because it creates the material world. But what's up, guys? Who's new to the live? Anybody familiar with their human design? Feel free to drop any questions that you have in the chat. Would love to help you guys out with deciphering and understanding human design. And then, of course, invite you guys to come join the archive. That's what this logo is from. The archive is a community where we have a physical approach to human design, meaning we are looking to bridge the gap from understanding human design to living out your human design. And you don't need to know anything about human design or movement or any of that. Classes are very, very beginner friendly, and we have classes Monday and Friday that are live as well as pre-recorded classes so you can get caught up on all the stuff that we're doing. But somebody was talking about earlier how gate 22 is associated with the left ear. I was talking about how gate 57 is associated with the right ear. Gate 34 is the glutes. The solar plexus is the celiac ganglia. Like there are so many correlations in human design to the physical body. And when you start to work with the physical body through the lens of human design, things open up like you wouldn't imagine. I really like your way. Also, the nerdy things of explaining HD on social media. Everything is the same. Thank you. I appreciate it. I'm a huge nerd. I love anime, video games, all that stuff. Part of my intention as well is to create a product or a series or something for gamers, people that spend a lot of time on the computer. Because I spend a lot of time on the computer. Not so much video games. It's more of just like a decompression thing. But I love the anything that can help me suspend disbelief in a healthy way, which basically like zone out. The first experience I had with that was books. Reading books would help me disassociate from myself, and gave me an opportunity to like just like enjoy my a story that has nothing to do with me. But then when I go back into my body, then I'm relating to that story. So disassociation is not always a bad thing. It can be done in healthy ways. Can I use HD to help lose weight? T- Classical HD, maybe. Um, we have people that have been losing like 17 pounds was the number that she gave me. A sister in our archive named Scarlett, who's lost 17 pounds um, doing the exercises. Because a lot of the weight is not what you think it is. You know, it's not necessarily fat. A lot of it is like lymph, or your body is holding onto water. And so you can do all the cardio or all the weightlifting you want, but if you don't address the behaviors and the repressed emotions, you're still going to carry the weight around. So, yes, you can 100% use human design, and more specifically the archive and sensory design, to lose not only weight, but the energy that that weight is associated with, the behaviors that are associated with that weight. You can also lose that. Because one of the problems in the world is that we have, you know, if you have enough money, you can get the fat sucked out of you and you can appear to be a certain way. But if you don't fix the behavior and you don't actually fix the dysfunction there, then unfortunately the fat or the unattractiveness is just gonna like come right back. Maybe in a different part of your body, maybe in a different form. Do I stream daily? Not daily. I do Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Hawaii time. Hello, River. How are you? Thank you for sharing all this. I have no idea what you guys are talking about, or very little, but I can't stop listening. You're broad. That's how I was at first. I was like, I don't get this human design stuff, but it's fascinating. Same thing with spirituality. I don't get this healing, this Reiki stuff, but it is fat. Like something is alive in you. And that is the thing that we're looking to foster. That voice, that feeling, the pressure. Like there's things that are insourced. They're coming from you. And the more that you can pay attention to those things, the better you can contrast the things that are externally influencing you, like influencers on social media. Maybe you think you need to be posting things on social media, but inside there's this pressure to get away from social media. I would say get it, follow the thing inside you first, because once you have a sense, a sensory sense of self, a physical sense of self, a clear sense of self, not a cognitive or a conceptualized sense of self, then you can start to play ball with the external authority. You can go, like, there was a time when I couldn't go into a bar. If anyone was drinking alcohol around me, I couldn't deal with it. Now, it's like I could drink if I want to. I very rarely do or will. However, I can be around people that are like this for, you know, isolated amounts of time without it like throwing off my week. So anyway, keep listening. And not to me, but because of the thing that's inspired within you. Listen for the sake of that, so that you can come into contact with the fire within yourself. So I've just signed up a few days ago, but I don't know where to start after setting up my profile. 5-1 projector. Um, so do I miss my invitation? Alex, get there's a whole start here post that tells you exactly what to do. Season 1, episode 1, that's where you start. You're welcome to join live class today. Some things might go over your head. It's totally fine. Most things you'll probably be able to get. But if you just get started in the archive, there's a start here post that will tell you exactly what to do. It's at the very top of the archive. You can't miss it. So yeah, don't overthink it. You didn't miss the invitation. Um, what is love defined by in human design? Like love for self or others? I'm curious about the correlation between love and the aesthetics and wisdom. For instance, Alan Watts had a lot of wisdom and he passed away from alcoholism, right? I think humans are capable of love even if they don't show the superficial signs of it. Right? Well, love is the thing that holds it all together. In human design, the G center is the center of love. You have love of self, you have the determination of self, you have the unconditional love of the world, you have the love of extremes, you have the love of logistical planning, you have the love of abstract trust. So the G center and it's one of the most mysterious centers as well, but it's literally the thing that holds it all together. Is the G? It's like the nucleus. It's like the GPS. The closest thing that I can relate it to is like a garden of a flower, right? Like you don't have to be a gardener to take care of a flower. Like you don't have to be a doctor to take care of yourself. And so with the G center, one of the things that's very important is that you recognize that a part of love is just like literally accepting everything that is. And in human design, and Ra talks about it a lot. I won't try and like repeat his words, but Ra has a lot of good talks on the G center and how mysterious love is, and how it's like you don't really have a choice when it comes to love. People say like, "Oh, I don't love that." It's that yeah, you don't like it. If you didn't love it on some level, you wouldn't perceive it. It wouldn't be a part of your reality. Because love is literally the glue that binds us all the time. In terms of the body, love is liver, it's the blood. Because love is the thing that filters out all of the BS. It's like the hope that allows us to go, somebody to go through very, very terrible things and still come out the other side compassionate and kind, maybe even more compassionate, more kind, more accepting of others because of what they went through. And so, but it's also, again, love is when we're starting talking about the true essence of love, there's so many different words and forms of it. But at the end of the day, from my perspective and with human design, like love is the thing that holds it all together. It's not, if you love this or not. It's like, how do you love it? What is your interaction with it? Yeah, great question. Roberta, you ask some wonderful questions. I appreciate it. And the thing about Alan Watts too, I was surprised, but also not surprised to hear about that. Simply because alcohol is not what a lot of people think it is. The context that a lot of people see it in is this very, how do you say, degenerate distraction. But alcohol originally was used to extract spirits from materials. So it's like you have cinnabar and you want to get the like the mercury out of it or the lead out of something. Like you just soak it in alcohol and it'll like pull it out. And so when a human being consumes alcohol, there's this sort of again disassociation that's able to happen. And if you intentionally call something in rather than just drinking to avoid something and then something random or whatever's closest just inhabits you, like a lot of the oracles, like the oracle at Delphi, it wasn't necessarily alcohol, but it was the natural gases that were coming out of the caves that were putting them into these like trance like states and giving them access to like clairsentience and clairvoyance without and preventing access of their bodies. So this is where alcohol in the modern sense is really detrimental because you lose connection with your physical body when you're drinking, right? It's why people are sloppy. It's why they do things that they wouldn't normally do because they don't have connection to their circuitry or who they actually are. They're disembodied because of the alcohol. And so it's not a blanket statement saying all alcohol is bad, but the context in which you use these substances is incredibly important, sometimes even more important than the substance themselves. Um, and I used to have a very heavy adversity. Like I said, I couldn't go into bars. I couldn't discern what was happening. Now that I kind of understand and see what's happening, I have a lot more compassion because it's not that people are using alcohol wrong. They're just like not finishing the ritual, right? They're not disassociating, calling in, you know, um, their higher self or whatever you want to call it. They're just like disassociating, and then anything is like, yeah. I really dislike when people tell others you're so fun to be around when you're drinking. Right. Oh man, that is so funny. Okay. The reason why people say you're so fun to be around when you're drinking is because when you're sober, they don't like you. And this is we could extrapolate that. They don't like you probably because you're heavily conditioned. So you're not even yourself. But also, the friends who are like I like you better when you're drinking, it's because you're more influenceable. or maybe you're more commanding and you tell them what to do. So it's like a hall of those wonky mirrors, right? And you're walking through them and you're like, wow, this is fun. And it's like the reason that's more fun than your real life is because you're not actually living your life. You're living a conditioned life. You're living the life that your wife or your husband thinks you should live, or that your mom and your dad said that would be best for you to live. That's a great comment, by the way. I love that so much. Might even make a video on that because I hear that a lot, where they talk about truth serum, right? Like, oh, a liquid courage. Why is it courage? Because you're not concerned about your body anymore. You're not concerned about your well being or your individual identity anymore. It's just like something else moving through you. Those people have inhibitions exactly conditioned to hide your true self. Right. And sometimes for people, the alcohol is the thing that brings out their true self. That's another side of it. I like you when you're drinking because you don't really give a damn about what other people think about you, and the true you can shine. But you don't need alcohol for that. It just takes courage in your sobriety. Drinking was a way past anxiety for me. Yeah, I remember that too. Social anxiety. Weirdly enough, I don't change much when I'm not sober, but there was always a debt to pay. Yeah, the reason I stopped drinking was because I physically could not take it. It would just kick my butt. Like the next day, next 3 days, I would be freaking useless. And not useless like, oh, I'm taking a rest day. Useless like I have stuff to do and I'm not able to do it because my head is pounding and I'm having to shed all of these energies and spirits that I picked up um, while I was drinking. One day I'll get lit with you guys on stream and you guys will get to see what I'm like. Because it's again, it's all in the dosage. It's all in the dosage. Too much Tylenol will unalive you because of the dosage. Too much alcohol will totally ruin your life. The right amount of alcohol might give you insights into things. Now, again, it's not a way of living. I'm not advocating for alcohol use. What I'm advocating is for not clumping a powerful medicine in with the crappy way that people use it. And dude, people suck at using alcohol. Not the right amount, period. Yeah, for some people, the right amount is none. Kava, similar, similar to alcohol. You could drink too much kava and it'll rip your stomach apart. I've done that. It's not fun. It's not fun. But I love kava. But again, it's like I don't drink kava often. Like I drink kava in ceremonial contexts. Again, people will use kava for the same reason that they use alcohol, because they don't have the discipline or rhythm or willingness to develop courage in a sober state, so they need something else, which again is fine. But if you need it forever, that's a weak point in your chain of supplies. It's a weak point. Like, why would you buy grain from somebody else when you have soil that you could grow grain in yourself? Ignorance, lack of invitation, whatever. You could make as many excuses as you want, but it's like eventually, yeah, I'll buy grain for you for 5 or 6 years until my grain is actually ready to feed me. Manifesting generator over here. Uh huh. Uh huh. Ow. Yeah, and the reason I'm talking about it like this is because I went through a phase where I was incredibly judgmental of people that drank alcohol, and I was unable to see um, the value of somebody when there was this big alcoholic standing in front of me. Now I'm still this way, but there's a much deeper understanding of alcohol and the effect that it has on people, the cultural significance of it, and the cultural effect. And there is a difference between someone who can drink and commune with alcohol and keep that to a degree sacred, and somebody that is like just drinking, and then the next day they're like, you know, spiritual influencers or whatever. There's a difference. There's a difference between somebody using alcohol to escape their life and somebody using alcohol to deepen into their life. And it's very rare that you find people that use alcohol to deepen into their lives. Omar, you got COVID? I'll send some prayers up for you, friend. I've heard people receive while taking it. Like how? Yeah. The worst you can do to your pineal gland, alcohol with plant medicine is totally another thing. I use it like that now when I drink. Thank you. Yeah, and again, it's like when you really start to tune into your body, how often does it want to drink? That's my serious question. Because so much of drinking is social. So much of drinking is social. Oh, let's go have a drink, get to know each other. It's like I'm supposed to get to know you while we're drinking? Okay, this is gonna be interesting. But also, it's like again, people do it just because like they don't have anything else to do. They can't say, "Oh, let's go make music together," because they don't play music. They can't say, "Hey, let's go for a walk," because they don't like nature. So anyway, using alcohol for the wrong reasons turns to addiction totally, like most. Yeah, and I recommend too is if you're somebody that is like, I don't know if I'm using alcohol the right way, you're not using it the right way. Let's get disembodied to know each other. I know, right? Well, again, that's how people reinforce their conditioning, right? They're like, oh, this is who I think I am. Even though I know this is a lie, if I can get you drunk enough, I can tell you who I think I am, and you'll help me reinforce this lie about myself. It's ridiculous. They used to make alcohol with nature and herbs and spices and sacred intention. The mass produced nonsense is garbage. Yeah, pretty much. Just like a lot of it. Like, and your body can alchemize it, but it's like, why would you ask your body to alchemize that? Truly. And if you actually have a reason, I'll listen. But most people don't have a reason. They're just like, oh, it's just a social thing that we do. I just want a single margarita here and there. I haven't drank in years, but still a margarita. And again, it's like the real question you ask yourself is what is the impact of this? What is the intention of it? Like if you're using alcohol, even just a margarita now and then, to disassociate from your life, what is the impact of that? Does it have a negative impact? I'm not sure. I'm not in your body. And if you let somebody else tell you that, oh, if you're having a margarita, that, oh, you're fine. It's just a margarita. Or you have someone that's like, oh, if you have a margarita, then you're an idiot and you're sleeping. And it's like, dude, who gives a fuck about what anybody else thinks? Seriously, who gives a fuck about what anyone else thinks about the way you live your life? The only thing that matters is deep down is whether or not you're listening to yourself or you're denying yourself. That's it. No, it tastes good. Right. So it's like if you can enjoy the taste of something and there's not negative side effects and you're, how you say, you're not consistently using it as a way of running away from your life. Oh, great. Great, great, great. Again, the only thing that really matters is your internal authority. Because until you've awakened your internal authority, the external authority will always crush you. I'm also a reflector and not feeling happy with my work office, but can't find any other place. Do you have tips to make my environment feel better? Yeah, no. What is your environment in human design as a reflector? If you go to my website, it'll tell you. It's numbing and calcifying thing. It's used to stay as zombies disembodied. For some people, not everyone uses it that way, but a lot of people do. And a lot of people that think that they're not using it that way are totally using it that way. So I totally agree. Um, I never could use substance as a coping mechanism. Jocelyn, I'm going to stop you right there. Be very mindful with that statement. Um, the fact that you can say that I could never use substance as a coping mechanism is like just dangerous. I'll say that. Like your mind might say that and you might be using food or clothing or shopping. We all use things as coping mechanisms. Life is stressful, life is hard. Clothes are coping mechanisms. We have to cope with the cold. We have to cope with attention. Right? We have to. We have to cope with things. So don't just yeah, be mindful. I'm just going to check you a little bit. And yes, you can totally guess my sign. I want to stop and evaluate my habits and heal myself. So before you stop your habits, just start evaluating right now, right? Like if you want to stop smoking, instead of just smoking mindlessly, keep smoking, but notice what happens in your body. Oh, I feel this sensation in my head. I feel like I want to lay down. I'm having these types of thoughts. You know, it doesn't have to be like a whole scientific experiment, but this is one of the things about the healing that it's like I want to punch people in the face because of this, because there's this sort of like nuke it energy when it comes to new age communities and healings where they're like, oh, just, you know, just go to this ayahuasca retreat and drink ayahuasca for a month straight and just like blow everything up. It's like very rarely do you actually need to do that. On top of that, how is it that you're going to get away from a shadow that you don't even know the name of? How are you going to heal your trauma if your first step in healing the trauma is just trying to rip it out? Like, take the time to just recognize that at some level, your addiction, your habit helped you survive. And until you recognize the value of that, you'll never be free from it. You might let go of one addiction to just find another, and they might both be unhealthy. This new addiction might even be more unhealthy because it's more socially acceptable or quote unquote spiritual. Like, I can't give you a number, but I guarantee you there's a shocking amount of people that are serving medicine, like ayahuasca and mushrooms and bufo and all this stuff combo. They're serving medicine as a means of bypassing their own work. And it's not that you have to get to a certain level before you start serving the medicine, but there's 100% people that are, the way that they work through their trauma is by helping other people work through their trauma. And again, not a bad thing, but there is a title and an ego and a commodification to it that is, it's really disgusting and gross. Wide valleys. Okay, Nos. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna get some plants, and those are gonna be the peaks of your valleys. Ideally, like I sit. If I could show you my space, it's like my desk is right here. I have a door there and a door there. I have a thing here and a thing here. So I'm like literally in a wide valley. I also sit on the floor a lot. Sitting on the floor is great for wide valley. So do some of your work on the floor. Get a nice rug for yourself. Get like a low desk so you can put. I'll like literally sit right there in front of my tea and drink tea and work on my computer. Um, but anyway, the last 11 days in isolation has sent me into deep shadow work, big time. So my bad, you're totally right. Agree, just not on drugs and alcohol, food, yes. Yeah. Yeah, sometimes you do need a medication or something, or there's a substance that will for a time help you cope with some kind of pain. But eventually we want to be able to release those. It's like crutches, when you break your legs, like crutches are great. But when your leg heals, get rid of the crutches. That's all I'm saying. So I am coping with your live right now versus dealing with what's going on at work. Oh my gosh, that's hilarious. I love that. Deaf water sign, Pisces. You got it, Pisces. Well done. Aries moon, Gemini rising. No Gemini, no Aries. I really want to try the shroomies. Yeah, one of the things about the ones. I'll just refer to them as the ones. Is working with them in like small doses. Again, the medicine is in the dose. Working with micro doses of the ones, like point 0.1, point 0.2, is incredible, and it's also very safe. Like, it's not like psychedelic or anything like that. If you do want to work with them, I recommend working with them in small doses like that for a while, and then working your way up to some kind of uh, you would call it like a macro dose, so like point 0.3, point 0.4, point 0.5, and then you go to the heroic dose. And there's plenty of people who can hold space for it. However, some of my best experiences has literally just been like me alone with instruments and the ones, like a lot of the ones. And I just like, you know, wasn't any cliffs for me to jump off of. I was just like in the middle of a desert. It was great. But again, any type of medicine work, before you do any of that, what you want to start to do is connect with your physical body. Because if your connection to your body is loose and you go into medicine worlds, you've heard of bad trips. People have bad trips because they don't have anywhere to ground this energy. And so they're just like, and they're just like floating up into space and like getting electrocuted. Versus somebody that knows how to breathe, make themselves heavy, like actually ground yourself, not just close your eyes and visualize touching grass, but actually like make your feet heavier. I don't know if you guys notice it right now, but I'm rearranging my body and I'm moving blood and energy in my body to make myself heavier and ground myself. And you can learn to do that too. You actually probably already know how to do that. You've just forgotten. And the archive will help you remember. Anyway, how do I know my internal authority slash external authority? Lunar cycle is my authority as a reflector, right? Yes. So one thing that you can do, and this is for all reflectors, and one of the reasons why we created the archive in the first place was because the mental gymnastics that you have to do to discern the difference between other people's authority and your own authority, the pressure to do that is immense. And Minnie, that's what you're feeling, and that's where the confusion comes from. The ability to see what's happening with my neck, right? To pressurize and feel into your body, that is where the inner authority or the guidance that you're looking for is going to come from. The mental looking at the transits and figuring out which of your centers is defined can be helpful, but it can also be very distracting. Mindy, this is why you're in here, right? It takes some time. It takes at least 18 months of training in the archive to actually start to be able to discern a sensory difference between external authority and internal authority. So one thing I can say is like be patient with yourself. This will come in time. And in the meantime, the how you say sense of internal authority, if you're confused about it, most of the times I would say, especially when you're doing this, um, deconditioning thing, is like just take a step back. People will pressure you to make decisions, and when you're going through a purge or a cleanse, and people are trying to tell you like what to do, like just take further steps back. Learn to rely on yourself and trust that this process of creating space for yourself and not letting just anybody into your space is actually going to invite the right people into your space. Like you don't need to go out and find the right people. You need to create space in your life so that they actually have room to pull up when they do pull up. Because here's what happens when I pull up on somebody and they haven't made space for me because they've got their friend that likes to do this and their friend that likes to do that and this and that, and they're like so close and they're so tight knit. There's no room for me, and I'm not going to force my way in, even if I know and I can see how beneficial the relationship would be. I could force my way in. I used to do that. I don't anymore because that sucks. Um, but anyway, Nas, how do you feel about those wide valley tips for your workspace? Sit on the floor. Let me know if you have more questions. Plants are great too. Like I used to have plants here, but things that are like higher than you, like my computer is like a little bit higher than me. This is a little bit higher than me. It makes me feel like I'm in a mountain, which is helpful. Let's make a track. Christy, I'm super down to make music. Email me, cocobonesmusic at gmail.com. Send me an email or a track. Like if you give me something to work with, I can send something back. Projector 1-3 splenic, it says we learn and go through trial and error, but I feel like I have too many ideas that come at me all the time. Um, what's the definition in your head like? You undefined or defined? One of the things about ideas, and this is especially for projectors, but everyone can benefit from this. The concept around ideas is that ideas become things, but there's no motors above the neck. You have an awareness center in the ajna and a pressure center in the head. And while pressure might sometimes feel like energy, it's not. It's just not. It's not physical energy. It's just the pressure to think. So the pressure to actualize ideas, Jocelyn Shade, one of the first things that you have to learn how to do is tolerate the amount of ideas. And I know that might not be what you wanted to hear, but whether your head is defined or undefined, one of the first things that you have to learn how to do is tolerate ideas, become less reactive to them, become one who can entertain ideas without immediately going to, I need to either accept or reject this. Like, there's no one that's going to come punish you for entertaining an idea without immediately accepting or rejecting it. Most people build their identity based off of ideas as opposed to love. So they're building their identity in their mind rather than in the part of them that holds their mind and their bodies together. And that's where you want to get to. You want to learn how to, again, tolerate ideas. Like I remember doing a Reiki session on this guy, And 15 minutes in, he like opens his eyes and he's like, "Sorry, bro, I just can't do it." And I was like, "What do you mean?" And he goes, "I just like my mind is just not turning off." And I was like, "Who told you to turn off your mind?" He's like, "Isn't that how this works?" And I said, "Bro, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to think about as many things as you can. Think faster, think more, and just do your best to think really, really hard." And then we went into the session, and 45 minutes later, after I, kind of brought him back, he goes, "Bro, how did you do that?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, my mind stopped. I've never felt that before." And I said, "Bro, it's because you stopped fighting the mind and you just like realized like, dude, it's like weather. A lot of people go outside when it's raining. They're like, oh, it's raining. It's like, dude, you could just stand there and be chill. It's just rain. They're just ideas. They're just like the idea that like wind can blow over a tree. It's only if the tree is dead that the tree gets blown over. For people that have anxiety, all this, you just haven't spent enough time fortifying your body. That's why your mind gets overwhelmed by all these ideas because you don't have anywhere else to go. When you try to swallow, you start choking up, and it's like, oh, it's not safe in the body, dude. It's so safe in the body. Even if you have shit going on in the body, it's safer in the body than it is in the mind. You're not like a butterfly. You have roots. You can root down. Speed it up, slows it down. Yeah. My top one is undefined, but ajna is defined. I'm not. I mean, I'm Mexican, so kind of native, but I'm Filipino, Mexican, German, and Spanish primarily. Give me some chocolate on the blending cave environments vibe. Oh, I got you, bro. So the blending caves. Caves, first of all, typically lower ceiling, cooler environment, less windows. Caves are all about controlling the entrance and exit. It's actually the first environment, and it's one of the safest environments. Blending caves, as opposed to selective caves, has to do with who is sort of like controlling the entrance and exit. So selective caves would want to be like you're the one controlling the entrance and exit. Blending caves is there's a group of people or a tribe or something that is concerned with who's coming in and who's coming out. But that's the main thing. Like with caves, you put your back to the wall so you can see the entrance. That's where the sense of safety comes from. And that's also where you're going to be able to process the most amount of information for yourself is if you find a cave and sit in the cave in that specific way where you can control the entrance and the exit. Which for you as somebody that's multidimensional, bro, you could have like a gang of entities and allies that are helping you to select who comes in and who comes out. Totally just made that up right now. That last part, everything else is pretty human designy. But anyway, thank you so much. Definitely receive. You're very welcome, Jocelyn. So I can hear you, but volume is low. Is it possible to? Oh yes, totally. I could bump it up. How is that, guys? Does that sound a little better, Roberta? One thing about caves as well is like it being the first environment, um, and doing like meditations in caves and thinking a lot about like the aesthetics of the cave. One of the ways that you can make your environment more cave-like is to kind of do what I'm doing here, which is like I have things hanging from the ceiling, like get the ceiling lower, cover up the windows, still be able to open them because that's fun. Um, but then actually like it's so fun because it's like feng shui is such a cool thing, right? Because it's looking at the flow of energy. And if you combine feng shui with human design, which I haven't seen anyone do yet, but I literally might start a company right now doing that because that sounds so much fun. And I've always loved spaces. Like you can make any environment into another environment for the most part. Um, yeah, and it's awesome. Sweet. I get to see some live music in a cave next weekend. I'm even more excited. Dude, Mindy, that is so cool. What cave is that happening? So I get the idea of a kitchen that to be somewhere where something is cooked slash made, but what's the dry in it? I mean, kind of having to do with like humidity, like how much water is in there. And I don't actually don't. My buddy Pasha is he's a wet kitchens guy, and so humidity is one of the things that you're looking at, wet versus dry. Also, the types of ingredients, like are they dry ingredients? Are things being grinded together, or are they being like mixed in a solution, shaken or stirred. That also is something that that's about the most I know about it. I could infer and talk about it a lot more. Um, but one thing that I would say is like if you're a dry kitchen person in a wet kitchen, one of the things that you might want to track, and again, it's not a bad thing to be a dry kitchens person in a wet kitchen or a wet kitchens person in a dry kitchen. You just want to like track the difference. What does a wet kitchen feel like for you versus a dry kitchen? Because again, all of this information that's being given to us, it's not being like, hey, this is who you are. I mean, that's how it's presented, but for us, we have to be more clever than that. We because there's plenty of people who are selling, hey, this is who you are, and that's not who you are. So test this for yourself, right? Like if you're a dry kitchens person, see what a wet kitchen feels like, and then go back to the dry kitchen and like see for yourself. That's why we rearrange instead of moving. Yeah, totally. People can, you can take a wet kitchen, turn it into a dry kitchen, and vice versa. Like in terms of a room. In terms of a whole environment, kind of harder. But in a room, that's why I love tiny spaces. Because it's like I could turn this place into a cave. I just close that door. Or I like put my curtain down. Right? I could turn it into a kitchen. I just pull my instruments out and I start making music. Now it's a kitchen. It's called the Caverns in Tennessee. Ooh, Mindy, Tennessee. Pasha is in Tennessee right now. I think, yeah, Tennessee. Nashville? He's in Nashville? Yeah, that's Tennessee. Oh, so that's why I love spaces with lower ceilings. Yeah, Mia, you're a cave person. And it's like part of the being in the cave also is being able to not only feel safe, but allowing your body like the right container to process information. That makes sense. Caves are fun. I love caves. Like all of the kids that are like building forts in caves that are attempting to make their environment more suitable suitable for them, and people think they're just playing games. It's like, oh, so cave wise, hang ish from my ceiling. Yeah, hang like blankets, getting the ceiling lower. Um, Definitely having light that's not like direct light. Like light coming from the ceiling is not very great for caves. Like if you have light on the floor shooting up, or like indirect like floor lamps or sunset lamps, lighting is very important in caves because if it's too bright, then there's this sort of exposure. More tapestries I exposed to experiment with. Yeah, tapestries or beads. Yeah, I love a good fort TV. I love forts too, and as a valley person, I sit on the floor a lot. Um, and there's things that are shared between valley people and caves people, right? Like being able to walk out of the cave and go down to the valley, and then bring things from the valley up back to the cave. Because you got to think about this like not I wouldn't necessarily call it practically. You just like the reality of a cave. What is it? The reality of a valley. What is it? Discern your information based off of the reality of the thing that you're interacting with. So I'm Dry Kitchen Phoenix. I live in Phoenix, AZ. I love summer and hanging with my peeps. Sweetie, let's go. That's what's up. That makes sense. Caves are super soothing and comforting, right? And the thing about it is like it's not that, for instance, there's an adverse to everything. Like the opposite of valleys is shores, and I live in Hawaii, and I don't go to the beach very much. The times that I do go to the beach, it's because it's like there's some kind of how you say transference or like a transmutation that's happening that I need to go to a shore to like get the salt water or wash this energy off of me. Which actually I might go today because that could be fun, and I definitely feel some transmutation energy happening right now. So if he is interested in live music, one of my favorite bands, Umphreys McGee, is playing the Ryman in Nashville this weekend. They are a progressive rock and roll band. It's a social improv event they will do with fans voting and interacting live. Oh, cool, Mindy. I mean, you could just message. Pasha about that because he's probably looking for fun things to do, and he's definitely a lover of dancing and music. So yeah, I would just message him. Yeah, any of the Tennessee people reach out if you're in Tennessee, especially Nashville. Reach out. Reach out to the Pasha to see if he wants to hang out. Don't be offended if he says no, because the dude is like one of the funniest things ever is like getting used to saying no as a projector or a generator. Reflectors and manifestors too, but definitely like generators learning to go and not be so concerned with like how other people are gonna take it. That's a superpower right there. How do you best learn from setbacks on a healing journey? Um, the best method is usually to not like try and rectify the setback immediately. Like don't see the setback as a setback. See it as a a curve in the road where it's like you got to slow down a little bit, but it's just so you don't flip your car. Um, there's always something to learn, and especially as a third line, I've learned there's always something to learn in failure. The only true failure is when you fail to learn something from one of your failures. And the way that you can do that is you look at the setback and you start to contextualize what are other people saying about this, and you have that, and then you ask how do I actually feel about this, and then you start to connect the dots like do I feel this way about this setback because so and so feels this way about those kinds of setbacks. Ah, great. And the reality, for me at least, is that you don't necessarily do anything with it. You just keep it in your point of view, you keep it in your field of view, but you don't focus on it. You focus on your intention, which is to continue the healing journey. So you take a pause, take a breath, you know. I would say like a week at most. But if you're obsessing over a setback for longer than a week, it's because the setback has now become the focus and the intention as opposed to your original intention, which is to continue the healing journey. So as a generator, I have to turn inward aggressively and not worries about others when I say no, right? And then eventually it's like, and I've seen this maturity happen with Pasha where it's like, he has the awareness that, oh, if I say really strong to this person, that they're gonna get upset and they're gonna get all up in their head. And it's actually easier for him to say, like, I really appreciate the invitation, but I don't have the energy for it. You get to become a little bit more tactful. But again, in the beginning, if it has to be a like then just let it be that. Yeah. Three line is pouring soy sauce on sushi, then flipping the box and the soy sauce is in. Right. Well, the third line is doing that like 4 or 5 times before you realize like I don't even like soy sauce on my sushi, or I'd rather dip it than than put it in there. Being the third line is so fun because it's like no, there's no escaping the third line. If you have a three in your profile, you're incredibly aware of it, or it's like it's incredibly prevalent. But regardless of your profile, there's no escaping the third line. There's no escaping material reality. Yeah, and listening to my authority, emotional authority on top of the no. Yes, yeah. 6-2. There's no escaping the third line, especially for it's like as a 6-2, the sixth line spends the first 30 years of its life very deeply in the third line, in the martyr trial and error, breaking bonds, making remaking bonds, etc. And then you get into a little bit more of a reflective hermit side, which is around between 30 and 50. And then you re-enter the world at 50, 60 as more of a role model, which is like an elder. And it's not to say that you don't have anything to bring to the world or that you're not going to be successful before 50 or 60. It just means that people are not necessarily going to see you as a role model until you're 60 years old. And biologically speaking, there's all these like young influencer role models. Dude, they don't have enough experience to actually give role model worthy advice. They're 20s. They're it's not like I figured out the secret formula. It's like, yo, I figured something out. But when you're 50 or 60 in the twilight, because there's the thing about being an elder, having to start saying goodbye to your body at 50, 60 years old, you either do that in a good way or you don't. And what will help you say goodbye to your body in a good way is by living the 20s not as like trying to be something that you're not, but to really just be present. And so this is why, presence and laughter is such a huge proponent and a huge lesson that elders will teach us how to laugh at things that are hard and how to cry when things are hard as well, like how to like be present for what's going on, so that because when we're older, you can't go back and be 20. And you see it all the time. You see 50, 60-year-old men dating really young girls, and people are like, oh, that's a judgmental. I'm like, dude, that girl could be your daughter's age. Like, what part of you in your 20s didn't like live fully enough to date 20-year-old girls that you have to do that now when you're 50, 60 years old? Chasing the external, but she might have a beautiful soul, sure. And I'm not here to say who's right to date and who's wrong to date. I'm just saying that when I'm 50, I'm not trying to deal with the energy that comes with a 20 or 30-year-old girlfriend. Anyway, right? Ex-husband like that. Yeah, a lot of guys will do that, and they that makes them feel young. And it's because you're dealing with a young person. So of course you're gonna feel young. Anyway, I had some great yellow curry the other day. LMAO, the soy sauce sushi analogy reminded me. Dude, food, food, and the third line. God, it's so fun. It's like living life as a third line. Living life as a 3-5 reflector. I've had so many people say things like, "Oh wow, do you ever get tired of making mistakes?" And I'm like, honestly, I don't really see them as mistakes anymore. Or like, it must be so hard reflecting everybody you meet. I'm like, I don't reflect everybody I meet. There's so many myths about human design and way people use it. Like they use it like a personality test, and human design is just not a personality test at all. It's something that is so much deeper than that. I'm a projector. How do I navigate waiting for the invitation and getting a new job? So one thing that I would say about getting a new job as a projector, and the invitation in general, is like, what is it that you're here to be recognized for? And you can look at your chart, look at the channels that you have, because those are the things that you want to be recognized for, but also the channels that you don't have and the undefined centers. Like if you have an undefined heart, part of you is here to be recognized for your ability to recognize egos. Like, wow, you just have a really good read on this, or you said that was going to happen. That's exactly what happened. When it comes to applying for a job, I would say that there's no job really. There's no one that's going to invite you into the perfect job. So don't wait around forever for that. I would say either start your own business and get a job that you can manage and grow a business, and make sure that you're growing that business like a projector, meaning you're not trying to grind for 6 hours a day. I run my business like this. Like I wake up, I have tea, very like slow, chill, non-sacral morning. Then I'll spend an hour and a half or so doing content, etc., or this, or both. But I never work for more than like 3 hours, and that is by design, at a time. After about 90 minutes, 2 hours, I'm like, ugh. Sometimes I'll go further just because, again, I'm just like pushing my limits and I'm a third line. But every time that I've worked for longer than 3 hours, like I kind of burn myself out. And so, for instance, if you have a generator type job, how can you make it more projector? How can you give yourself um, the opportunity to like lay down for a little bit, or learn some techniques so that you feel more grounded? Which again, all of this stuff that I'm talking about, the archive, the membership, the sensory design will help with it. Um, yeah. And then again, like, especially if you have the ability to create your own business, if you have the internet, like, don't look for a job. Look for a job that you can tolerate, that doesn't suck your soul. And then when you're done with that job, create a business for yourself and run that business like a projector. That's what I would say. So in Tropical HD, I have a defined G center with 2 and 1 at the bottom and the top respectively. What does this mean? So to define G center, so you have defined vision, which is the 2, and then defined creativity. Bottom and top What does are they a part of the channels or are they just hanging gates? Could you talk about a non-sacral morning? Totally. So the non-sacral morning for me is like there's like an hour or 2 hours really. There's like 2 hours if I wake up at 7 where I don't have to do anything. There's nothing pressuring me. There's nothing predetermined. So that's what it means. It means I wake up at the pace that I want to. It means the first thing that I do in the morning usually is an RPM, which is like I rise, I get up out of bed, I make my bed, I drink some water. RP, pee, I go pee, I walk outside and I take a pee, and then I meditate and I just sit for like 10, 15 minutes, sometimes shorter, sometimes longer. But the non-sacral morning for me, a lot of people will say it's just a slower pace, but it's really about like I get to create whatever I want. I'm not married to a routine. Although there are certain things like if I don't have tea, I feel that because tea has minerals and tea has caffeine and stuff. Speaking of which, I'm gonna pour a cup. It's like not. It's like having a routine, but not one that's predetermined. Is what I would say. So two is channeling with 14, going downward. One is hanging. Got it. So you got the beat, right? 14 is the logistical um, satisfaction of execution. Two is having the vision. So, it's like thinking up a video, making a video, putting it out there. People respond to it, and you're like, cool. Having the hanging one without the eight is like the what you call it. The one is the creative. The eight is the contribution. So what you're doing typically in this context of like making videos, for instance, you're using the beat to create it. But then when you share it or you interact with people, it's much less about being the one saying this has value and more about asking what value does this have to you? Because I don't necessarily know, even though you may know. But being receptive in that way. The eight is the thing that says, "Hey guys, this belongs in your feed." Right? You don't if you don't have that, you're either going to condition yourself to have that or you're going to be receptive and you're going to be able to still use that eight. Josh, is that you? I see I see truth. Is this Josh, is it you? I am drinking your tea if it's you. My buddy Josh did this amazing thing where he for the birth of his daughter, he created a special blend of tea and sent me some. And it's still the best tea that I've ever drank. I crushed through the fermented. I crushed. Dude, freaking love you, man. Thanks for being in my life. I forgot what your screen name was. We gotta have a call soon, dude. I miss you so much. I got another one on the way too, if you haven't heard. Um, but dude, yeah, this tea is so good. I was just talking about these like non-sacral mornings. Like the best mornings that I have start with tea, and I don't think that's a specifically a non-sacral thing. Um, but it's definitely like for instance yesterday I didn't really have tea and it was like a very emotionally taxing kind of day just because of the activities that I was doing and that was again like I'm not here to get a perfect score on things. I'm just doing my best to do my best. Waka. Enjoying tea with me, yes. I love the idea that people and this is one of the reasons why I got really excited about doing lives because I do these regularly, which a lot of people have told me like, how do you stay so consistent um, with what you're doing? And I'm like, you know, I'm not really concerned as much with that. Like, It's something that know I'm supposed to do. When I'm doing it, I feel powerful and awake and alive and purposeful. After I'm doing it, I don't feel drained after doing lives like this. Um, and as long as like I can continue to do that, like I'm not concerned with what human design says I'm supposed to be doing or not supposed to be doing. Um, so the idea that like there's people sharing tea with me, it's so much less like, oh, I gotta show up and be of service to people, but it's like I get to show up and have tea with my friends. And I know this is part of people's morning routines. I know this is part of people's daily lives. And so, yeah, it's magic. I'm a projector with many undefined centers. Will you tell me what it is that I am meant to work on? Um, what I'm meant to work on in this HD? Is it the authority splenic or the trajectory theist? So again, Roberta, we're helping you to connect with your inner authority. The trajectory, the motivation, all of the advanced stuff about human design is built on the foundation of how well you can use your strategy and authority. And because you're in the archive, like you're cultivating a somatic, a physical, a sensory sense of strategy and authority, so that you don't have to ask, what do I need to work on? You can just pressurize and be like, oh, that felt kind of weird. Okay, great, let me work on those areas, right? And it's, again, your mind will go through these like death throes, because this is the thing: the archive is where the mind goes to die and be reborn. The mind has such a powerful grasp on everyone right now. Unless you've been through a year and a half of sensory design and deconditioning archive, the mind has a grasp on you. And the reason is because the mind is actually the most useful authority for us in the 21st century. It pays well to do the smart thing, but you don't actually get to live the life that you want to live. You get to live a life that pays well, or that other people think is great, but you don't actually get to live the life that your body wants to live and the life that you want to live. And so until you give the mind an authority that's better than it objectively, because the mind, to a degree, is like built for objectivity. Unless you give the body the power and the resilience and the response and the reflexiveness to overrule the mind objectively, like you show yourself, the conscious part of you, you show yourself that, hey, when I listen to the body, these decisions that I have to make, they always end up going better for me. The mind is able to track that through time. This is why it takes time. And then after 18 months or so, that's when the mind starts to surrender. It stops asking questions like, are we doing the right thing? Because your body knows. When the mind does ask those questions, it helps alert you to, are we doing the right thing? Right, that question might say like, hey, this is going to impact somebody else. And the question that your mind asks isn't, are we doing the right thing? The mind says, hey, what we're doing here is going to impact so and so, let's be mindful of that. So the questioning doesn't stop with the mind when you start to embody your human design. It just becomes more appropriate. It stops asking you questions like, is that really what you want to do? It's like, yeah, that's what I want to do. I there's all this energy that's moving towards it. That's, of course, what I want to do. And again, it doesn't mean that your inner authority is always going to be right, especially for everybody else. But sometimes you're meant to dive headfirst into something and hit your head on it. The magic of hitting your head ultimately is so that, again, the body learns in a different way than the mind. And so getting comfortable with the way that the body learns as opposed to the way that the mind learns is part of the work. And again, the mind is going to go through its like parasitic death throes, and it's going to be like, oh, but don't forget about this, and what about this, and what about that. And the mind again, the mind needs to feel safe. And if the body doesn't make it feel safe, the mind is going to look towards the external world to make it feel safe. Like the passenger in the vehicle. If the passenger in the vehicle is hot, he's going to open the window and try and crawl out the window. You're going to lose your mind. But as the driver and the tender of the vehicle, you can cool the vehicle down. It has AC. Go figure that the way that you cool off a cup of tea is also the same way that you cool off your body. I have been seeing the manifestation of my HD work now, and I'm presented with a large shedding op. Yeah. I'm having moments of peace around in the decision in my body, but my mind is still creeping in. Again, we're not looking to right we're not looking to pacify the mind. We're looking to train the mind so that it can be used to connect us to the infinite in ways that are appropriate, and that it will actually surrender decisions to the body or hand things over to the body, because they're like, again, they're they're together. Like we're together in this. And so the mind will constantly, like, it's going to try and solve problems, and if you don't give it problems to solve, it will turn things that are not problems into problems so that it can solve them and be useful. I'm drinking raw pu'er, by the way, for anyone that's curious. Prana, what is up, my lord? Got that new transit, eh? Man, I'm so stoked on how much like heart activation I have this year. Giving it problems to solve, like working out and remodeling. I would say like learning remodeling is cool too. Yeah, um, or like helping people, helping other people solve their problems. Like the mind is really good at like looking outward and being like, that's inconsistent. That pattern doesn't like. They say they want this, but they actually let me figure that out, right? And of course, it's like, don't just try and figure out everyone's problems. That's what the mind is going to do. It's going to use that as a means of preventing you from doing your work. But if you give your mind a problem, like, I don't know how to, for instance, like play this chord on the guitar, music is probably one of the best things, because it engages that problem solving part of your mind and also the hearing somatic part of your body. I would say music and dance are probably the best problems for you, for your mind to be working on while you're deconditioning yourself. Art is another one. Art, but specifically like skills. Like, how do I get this line to be like really straight? Let me look at what other people are doing. Oh, that's how they're doing. Okay, let me try that. Right? Because it's not about like who you are as a person. It's like a skill in a craft. And then you might do something one way, and the mind might be like, well, hey, is there another way to do that? Let's explore another way. Then you can create new ways of doing things. So how can we tell the difference between feeling real calm? Are you gonna say compassion? Is the tea different from the raw pu'er? So yeah, so the raw pu'er is unfermented, and then the pu'er typically is just a fermented, which it has like a more mushroomy, funky, in a good way, stronger caffeine content, etc. Green tea is still tea, but it's not black tea. Pu'er is black tea though. Real compassion for a person being manipulated by them. Ah, that's a great question. I don't know exactly how you're going to perceive it, but one of the ways that I perceive it is when people are manipulating, right? A lot of the times it's not done maliciously. It's done as like a defense mechanism. So I really tune into how I feel around a person, right? Like there's times when I'm um, feeling bad for someone, like I'm giving them sympathy. And then there's time when I'm empathetic, where I'm like open and receptive to them and I'm like feeling them. So, real compassion or being manipulated by them, again, this is one of those things that everyone is going to tell you what things to look out for, but there's certain things that matter to you more so than others. And the more that you come into contact with those things that actually matter for you, in your body, the easier it will be to see that manipulation. Some things that you can do though is genuinely like Marco, don't pull too many of your own projections into here. But also maybe that's what you guys want. Manipulation is a covert way of getting the things you need, right? If the person is not doing for themselves what they need, or things are not going the way they want them to, watching the way that they treat their enemies is very important. And this is sort of preemptive, not necessarily in the moment. Am I being manipulated, or is this just compassion for another human being? Because they both can be true. You can have compassion, genuine compassion for someone, and they could be leveraging that to manipulate you. Um, but the way that you tell is you have an internal authority, right? If they ask you to do something in your gut's like, where it makes you emotional, it's like that's probably an indicator that you might be you might be the subject of manipulation, right? Like someone might be using you to get something that they want. And so again, that's where like the no comes in really strong. Like if you say no and they freak out, it's like, yeah, they're probably manipulating you. And they probably don't have anyone else to manipulate. Anyway, my daughter, my daughter, my daughter and both her kids and grandkids are 6'2" manifesting generators. Any tip? I feel like they are always plotting on me. Oh my God, Joy, that's so funny. They're just bombarding you with sacral energy. Possibly. What? Okay, so the plotting. Could you? That's hilarious. But could you be a little more specific, Joy? I'd love to. I'd love to help out if I can. I'm getting better at listening to myself uh, on when to say no. Yeah. Another thing too is like be mindful of the pressure that people are putting on you, because they might not be putting direct pressure, but if they're under pressure and they're like telling you about that pressure, it's like not very mindful, not very demure. Oh, I'm not putting pressure on you. This is just the reality of what it is. Yeah, that's called pressure. If you're on a deadline and you want my help with something, and the way that you think you're going to get my help is telling me that you're on a deadline and that you really need to get it done, well, I'll save you some time right here. I'm not going to help you. Go find someone else to pressure. Like, sometimes loving yourself is telling somebody to fuck off. A lot of the times, for a lot of people, loving yourself and doing what's best for yourself means telling somebody else, like, hey, I can't do that. I'm not doing that. It's not an excuse to be an asshole, but it's one of the best excuses I've heard. Anyway, uh, let's have some tea. I'd really love to eventually figure out a way to have the tea like right here so I could just be drinking with you guys. It's not very conducive for the setup that I have right now, but I'm sure I could figure something out. Eventually, given enough time. So yeah, those are great points. Would having an undefined sacral make it harder to tell the difference? Yes and no. The reason I say yes and no is because having an undefined sacral could make it easier. Like if you can discern the difference between sacral sounds from your gut versus sacral sounds from other people's gut. Like I had an experience recently where there was a lot of excitement and creative energy flowing into this project, but I couldn't feel it coming from my own sacral. It was coming from this other guy. And then he was claiming to say that he was helping us. And I'm like, bro, you have a defined sacral. I have an undefined sacral. I have no energy for this. I'm literally like waiting around to see if your intentions are pure. Obviously, they're not because you're trying to manipulate. He didn't even know he was trying to manipulate me and some other people as well. But it all comes like your lie detector of your sacral is like, is this coming from inside me? Is there energy rising up inside me, or is there none, and I'm just echoing what I'm around? And so again, this is why like we created the archive, guys, because there's you could talk for day and night and years and years and years, and people do this. They build universities and systems around all of these blah blah blah. But for me, it literally was just like it was like my stomach was empty. He ate food, And he said, "Wow, that was a good meal." And I said, "I don't know, I didn't have any." He said, "No, no, you had some." I'm like, "The fuck I did, brother." And so it's a conviction of learning how to trust the body. And again, you don't get it by thinking about it. You have to build conviction. You have to learn, like, part of the drills that we do has to do with saturating these physical parts of our body. Meaning, I will lay on a ball and I will push the ball down with my back in order to saturate certain organs. It's part of what we do here. And doing that makes me, as someone with an undefined sacral, incredibly discerning. And I also get to have the freedom to choose. I'm not doing things because, like, oh, I like, if I wanted to, I don't have the energy for it sacrally. But if I wanted to, I could get the energy for it. I could go into not self territory without being detrimental to myself, if that makes sense. Like, you learn the rules, then you can break them, and it's fun. Hey, Spirited, wishing everyone all the positives and all the opportunities you desire. Jays. So almost like they want to see how far they can take me with their wants and needs while disregarding mine. I just realized they're all technically third lines right now. We're all fucking joy. Yeah. So it's like one of the things about, and I'll relate because I have a child. Um, when people say children are teachers, I feel like the role of teacher gets misconstrued because people are very, like, hot or cold on that. They're like, no, kids are not teachers. We're here to teach them. Like, a lot of the Jewish community I see is like that. And then a lot of the spiritual community is like, they are our teachers. We literally get them. They are, like, supposed to guide us and tell us what to do. I don't I don't I don't fuck with any of that. The reason I think children are teachers is because they are the single biggest source of stress and inspiration in a parent's life, and you don't know how to deal with that stress, and you don't know how to deal with that amount of pressure of inspiration, right? Like, for a mom that has to figure out, oh, my baby, my toddler used to love this game, but now they don't. I got to figure something else out. That's where kids are teachers for me. Is because they stress me out and they inspire me to be better. That's why they're teachers. They're not She's not here teaching me, you know, like a teacher in the West would. And so I think that concept is, like, beautiful, but I think it's misinterpreted. Children are 100% our teachers, but not in the way that you would think. And it's much less glamorous, especially than the new age perspective on kids being teachers. It's much less glamorous, but it's so much more um, productive, in my opinion. Anything slash anyone can be a mirror for us to learn about ourselves if we are able to introspect, right, and surrender to, like, hey, that's how they are. Wow, yeah, I learned a lot about how to communicate effectively, for sure. Joy, got you. Yeah. And with, with the plotting, and also recognizing, like, when are you bracing for, like, the manipulation, or the, like, they're gonna push your buttons when they're, like, not doing that at all. Is a question that I have. Like, there's times when I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to, like, go hang out, go, or, like, take this break over to the house because I'm not sure if, like, the family is gonna be, and then, like, oh, now I'm projecting onto them that they're gonna show up in a certain type of way. Um, yeah. What time is it? Oh, guys, it's almost time for the archive. So, gonna shut down the live now. Thank you so much for a wonderful live. We've been live for an hour and 38 minutes, about an hour and 40. For everyone that asked questions, thank you for bringing your curiosities to me so that I can, be in the curiosity and inspiration with you. Hopefully, if you're not already in the archive, that this has stressed you out enough to realize that you're got to train your physical body, and there's an invitation to the archive waiting for you. It's 37 bucks per month, so it's like a gym membership, or 333 for the year. The year is a deal because you get a couple months for free, and on top of that, like, you don't have to worry about, your monthly payments. Um, with that being said, cancel anytime, but don't blame us. Like, if you do the exercises, and by regularly do the exercises, I mean, if you devote minimum 15 minutes 5 days a week, you will see some drastic changes in 90 days. If you do an hour a day for 90 days, 5 days a week, 4 days a week, you will see insane changes, not only in your behavior and your energy, but in your face. Like your jawline will get more defined, your nose, like everything about you will just become more beautiful, because what's going to happen is you're going to be letting go of a lot of lymph and fluids and energies that are not inherently a part of you. So please, 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 we created this community so that you guys won't have to try and figure out your human design on your own, but that you could actually follow a simple 7 hour course and physically do things that are going to connect you to your human design while you're learning human design. It's not that learning human design is discouraged in the community. It's just like, hey, we can geek out, but let's geek out with from our bodies, not just our heads. So anyway, invitation to join the archive is there. Link is in the bio. It's the first button there. Also, for anyone that wants reports or one-on-ones, or to download Neutrino Design, which is the best human design app out there, if you are going to engage with human design, highly recommend Neutrino Design because it's just, it looks the coolest, and it's objectively got the best information. So, with that being said, I love you guys. I go live Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 9 a.m. Hawaii Standard Time. The archive class season 3 is about to kick off in 20 minutes. If you want to get in on that, visit the link in my bio, get your membership, and I will see you on Monday. Okay, love you guys. Bye bye.